Hey everybody, welcome to Passion Unchained. It is Joe Bookoff. You guys know me, you guys love me, you guys are hopefully subscribed, and if you're not, watch this video, and if you like it, I'm pretty sure you'll want to subscribe. So, we're going to talk about backgrounds today. In your dating profile photos, paying attention to the background can be the make or break for whether girls swipe right or left. Welcome back. I'm going to go ahead and give you the skinny. This episode, I'm going to go over what makes some good backgrounds and why, what makes bad backgrounds and why, and how to choose some good backgrounds for yourself. So let's get into it. As you can see on the screen here on the right, I'm going to put up some examples from my own life. The best backgrounds can add to your photo. They can tell an extra story. They can complement your physique, your perception. They can add more background and more things that girls can look at. When girls are looking at your photos, I've said this time and time again, they're not just looking at how good you look, they're also looking at what this means about you. What would it be like to date you? What kind of person you are? They're trying to make conclusions about who you are from your photos. And the background is a huge part of your photos. Poor backgrounds, which I will get into some great examples of. These backgrounds can look very unprofessional. That can make you look like you're a slob, like you don't have your life together, and like dating you is going to be boring. You don't want girls to think that you have no life. If you have no life, most girls aren't going to swipe left, and the only girls that are going to swipe right are girls that aren't going to be that fun to date, or aren't going to be that exciting, or they're not going to be the high-value girl that you truly want in your life. You want to attract girls that are going to be fun, that are attractive, that are exciting, and that like you, that really admire and respect you. And to do that, you need to incorporate the background in your photos. There are three great categories I like for backgrounds when I'm taking dating profile photos for my clients. Number one, and the by far best in my opinion, is an activity-based background. As you can see here, this is a photo that I hired my friend to take of me. I'm in the gym, I'm looking buff as fuck, and the background looks cool as hell. You can see the barbell area right there. The dumbbell area. I knew I said that wrong. You can see the dumbbell area right there, a mirror and some cool flags. This is a really cool thing in Austin, and I can talk about the pose all day, but that's not what this video is about. This video is about the background and why making a good background is extremely important. And in this particular background, it looks really cool, and it adds to this because it is an activity-based background. This is one I took for my client in the same exact area, and as you can see, it looks really cool to be working out in a cool looking gym. And that background, I took into account how cool it looks with the lights and the flags and all that jazz. So definitely suggest when you're working out, have a cool activity-based background. I'm gonna only do one more example of the gym. It's such a great example. If you have a cool looking gym and you are fit enough, then a gym photo is great. And this is an example of a client who's also a fitness photographer. And so having him with his camera on his belt, as you can see right there, and with my tripod, he has good equipment as well. We just use my tripod since he didn't bring his equipment. With my camera on his belt and his camera on his belt and my tripod in a gym environment, it shows that like, hey, he's a photographer, and you can kind of infer from the background that he's a fitness photographer. So it adds a lot. You can say a lot with the background if you incorporate that. This one I really like. This one is an activity-based background as well. You can see him, you can see the photos, but we're not going to talk about my client right now. We're going to talk about the background. And if you look at the background, he's in an art gallery. That shows a lot about who he is, what kind of person he is. Probably more an intellectual person, probably more deep than somebody who's at a bar. Nothing wrong with going to a bar. I have a lot of photos, and I'm actually going to show you one of my favorites of clients at a bar. But this is another activity photo that is really good because it shows what he likes to do. So here's a really great example of an awesome action photo background. You can see there's the really neat looking bar. There's the lights in the background. You can see some bottles and some people. And it really gives a sense of this guy likes to go out. He likes to be around people. and he's a cool guy, he's comfortable in himself. And we're not going to talk about the fashion, we're not going to talk about the pose, because this video is about the background. We could talk about those all day because those are also great. But this photo in particular, the background's kind of neat because it has the different colors and it complements him. It doesn't distract from him. That's a really good example. Those are some really good examples of action photos. Another great example of good background is outdoor photos. This is a great example of an outdoor photo that I took of a client who really likes to meditate, and I wanted to get him in an outdoor area. It makes it look more exciting. It makes it look more interesting. If he was just meditating inside in his house, it would look a lot more bland. But because we have him outside against a tree, it gives a lot more of a relaxed nature feel to it, and it shows that he's not afraid to go outside and do what he loves. Here's another great example from the same client. I got him to wade in an area in Austin called Barton Springs, and we got this great shot of him outside, and that shows a lot. First of all, I mean, I'm not going to talk about the pose, the physique, etc. That's not the purpose of this video, but it just shows that he's comfortable going outside, he's comfortable being in the elements, and you can see with the people in the background that he is a social person, and all that, and he's also a very nature-loving person, so all that put together, you can just tell from the background it adds a lot to the photo. Here's another great example of a client that I took photos for in New York City. As you can see, he's outside, he's on a bench, and there's some trees in the background. It's actually in Central Park. And the way he's dressed up, it was actually quite cold, and he has a hot cider in his hand. You wouldn't be able to tell that from the photo. And we're not talking about the pose, remember? But we are talking about the background. That's more a reminder to myself, because I love talking about poses and breaking down photos. But in the background, you can see that he likes being outside, that you can feel more of a boyfriendy vibe, which is actually the purpose of this photo. This particular photo, on a park, on a bench, like that's very boyfriendy vibes, and that's what he wanted. Some of my clients want more fuckboy vibes, which I'm very happy to provide, and some of them want more boyfriendy vibes. And this particular one, great boyfriendy vibes. Nothing more boyfriendy than a park bench in Central Park. So here's a great example of a bad background, and this is one that I find very common, and it's one where somebody takes a photo with just a blank wall behind them. This is one of my clients. He took this photo it's one of his before photos. I'm not a big fan of it at all, and I wanted to highlight this because it's a good example of why a bland background, and forget his pose again, that's a different story. The bland background really takes away from the photo. So this is the photo that we took after, same guy, and as you can see, the background's kind of interesting. This is actually in the back of a bar. You wouldn't necessarily be able to tell that, but it looks like a cityscape. It's an interesting background that adds to it. You got some twinkly lights, you got some blurred lights, you got the interesting background. I do have a criticism about this photo. His face is slightly out of focus, which is totally my fault. It looks like I'm actually focusing on his glasses, which is slightly different than his face. So this is not a perfect photo, but it's much, much, much better than the one I already showed you. Here's another example of a client that I work with in a different category of bad background. This guy, the background is not bland, but it's too cluttered. Now, you want the background to add to your photo. You want it to be interesting to look at, and I'm not going to talk about his pose or the lighting on his face or his outfit because that's a different category, but the background itself is just too cluttered. It's too distracting from him. Even if he was on point, the background is cluttered. There's a tarp over stuff. There's just a random pot with snow in it. There's a couple pots with snow in it, and it's just not appealing. First of all, it's tilted too. That's another thing you want to have. Your background should be up and down. There might be some small exceptions for an artsy style photo, but for the most part, you want your background to be up and down. And this is more tilted. So that's one thing you should pay attention to, is have your background be up and down. And then you will the photo will be a lot more appealing. This is actually quite disorienting, having it slanted. And this is our after photo. As you can see, the background is quite good. It doesn't distract from him that much. Maybe this sign is slightly distracting because you want to know what it says, but it's too out of focus. So that is a criticism I have of myself. But for the most part, this is an outside photo that is pretty nice. I mean, the lighting on his face is great, and the lighting on the background is really, really nice. So keep that in mind. If you want to figure out what a good background for your photo is, number one is try to find a photo that makes sense with the action you're doing. If you're going to a gym, don't do it at home. Take that photo at a really cool looking gym. Or if you have a coffee, if you're drinking a coffee, either do that on your couch, kind of relaxed and lounging, because that would be a cool background. Or you could do it at a cafe. Having a photo at a cafe is something I love doing because the background often looks really cool. A lot of cafes are very photogenic. And having a couple people in the background for dating profile photos is perfect because it shows that you're comfortable being out in public. You're comfortable with yourself. You're not a shut-in. Dating you would look like, hey, you actually go out in public sometimes. That's a criticism that I know a lot of girls have of their dates is they don't want to date somebody who just doesn't really do anything. They want to date somebody who goes out in public and is comfortable with themselves. Also, avoid bland backgrounds, just like a bland wall, and also avoid cluttered backgrounds where the background is just very messy and distracting. I hope that this was helpful for you. If you know a friend who is making these mistakes on their dating profile photos and you want to help them get more matches, send them this video so they can take action. Just copy the link, or if you're on the app, then you can click share and send that to them, and I'm sure they'll be grateful for that. If you aren't subscribed, click the subscribe button and hit the bell, and you're going to get more videos like this every single week. I also put out a lot of shorts, so I'm going to cut this video up into shorts for more bite-sizable pieces that you can enjoy. Also, I help guys, I've helped over 100 guys in almost 25 cities increase their matches and build a love life that they love just by taking their dating profile photos. All the after examples that I showed in this video, I took myself of clients in different cities. So I'm really excited to be able to help you out. I'm running a Find Your Summer Fling promo. $250 off my deluxe package and $500 off my VIP package. Go to the link in the description for that. All right, my friends, enjoy, and I will see you in the next video.